Hi there, it's Wednesday Art Day, and today we've got a really exciting, almost a meditative coloring project. And we have lots of different materials that you can use, but it can be as simple as crayons and paper. And you can expand this how you would like. So I'm just going to take you through some of the ideas that you can have. You can use pastels for this project. You can use pencil crayons. You could just use regular crayons, or you can use watercolors. So depending on where your creative ideas are leading you, any of these will work. And we're going to start off with how we begin creating this picture. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is make a grid. Now, the easiest way to make the grid is just to take a ruler, draw a line on each side, and keep moving up and then going across. You can use, I used a triangle that I have at home, and I just created this evenly spaced grid going both directions. Then the next thing that you're going to be doing is, with pencil as well, is taking anything you have at home that's round that you can use as a marker and create a round circle. Now you can have that circle off to the side to create sort of a wind-blown tree, or you can have it dead center. Totally up to you. You decide where you'd like to have that. Once you have that done, you have basically your sky and ground area around the edge of the tree, and this is the leaf area in your tree. The next step that we're going to be doing is creating the trunk of the tree. Now, I just used a black felt pen that I had, but you can use a black crayon or a black pencil crayon. And what you're going to do is remember that trees have all kinds of bumps and lumps, so it's not a straight line. And you're going to start from the bottom and make a little bit of a root, go up the middle, and then you can go off to the edge of the circle. Once you hit the edge of the circle, that's the edge of your branch. And you can make your branches have multiple ends. Remember, the end of the branch is where it's the thinnest, and it gets a little thicker as it gets towards the trunk. And you're going to create the inside of your tree, almost like if you had an X-ray done. That's what we're looking at. This is the inside of our tree. Now this tree, I'm making sort of a wind-blown tree, and so I didn't have a stem up the center, but I'm going to show you just in a second. The other tree, I did do that. So you can really decide what the shape of your tree is. Is it tall and strong, or is it got all kinds of interesting branches? And then once you have that done, you're going to go back down to the bottom to make your roots. Now, take a look at this tree that I did. I had more of that center strong piece and then branches to the side. Both are fine. You get to choose. Once you have the stem of your tree, then we're going to talk about how we chose the colors for the center compared to the outside, so it stands out. All around the tree, we're using cool colors. So take a look over here, and you'll see I've got blues and grays and greens. So if you imagine, especially up here, we know that time when we look outside right now, there's not a lot of warm flowery colors. There's just these cool colors. And we're going to choose that for the outside area. And then if you look over here, I've chosen a bunch of warm colors, reds and yellows and pinks, and that's going to be the inside of my tree. So when you're trying to think about, okay, is this a cool color or is this a warm color? Think about how that color is made. So in this, we've got lots of yellows and reds. That's the basis of those colors. Whereas in these colors, we have more the blues. And the blues tend to be icy cold, and the yellows are warm like a fire. So that's how you can tell the difference between warm and cool colors. Now, you can choose to do that in the pastels and pick colors from your pastel grouping, or you can come over here to the watercolors And you can do the same thing. So we've got blues and purples for our cool colors, and then we've got all these warm colors that we can choose from. It's completely up to you. Now, when you're coloring this, each block, each square that you've created is going to be one color. And when it all comes together, it'll give you that tone. So you see here, I've colored each one of the squares a different tone of blue or purple, and I made sure that I tried to not have the same color side by side and not have them all in a row in this grid. So if I did a purple here, then I did one over here, and I only colored within the square. Now, whenever you're using pencil crayons, so I'm going to use this green that I have, and I'm going to put one here. If you color diagonally, then in this particular drawing, it will be a little harder to match that diagonal all the way throughout your drawing. And you want to have your strokes of your crayons going the same direction throughout. So I chose to do vertical because vertical is a little harder to be exactly the same. And you're staying inside the lines, and you're going over, and you're going to, here, I better move this other drawing out from underneath. You're going to go as dark as you can. Now, if you choose that you want to have your drawing to be all pale and see what that looks like, go ahead on it. It's just keeping it consistent. So I'm having all my lines going vertical, and I'm filling in. I'm trying to be fairly vibrant and having it nice and dark. Now, if I did this all diagonal and then I switched here, it wouldn't have the same flow that it has. And now I'm going to do this color again, but I want to choose a different spot. So I think I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to fill that square in. Now watch what happens when I come up to the tree. It's almost like it's, you know, when you're little and you play that tag game and you say, oh, you're on lava. Well, that's the same thing. You want to make sure you stay off of that tree and only go up to the tree. And that way the tree will stand out. And you're only going up to the circle as well and filling in those squares to that point. So I'm working on my cool colors all the way around the tree. And then the next part is, I just did a few of these so you could see, is I'm going to do my warm colors inside of the circle up to the tree. So if I was going to get one of my warm colors and I was looking at this square here, I would only go up to the branch and fill in that whole square right up to the line. You want to have it nice and full. We don't want to have any white showing where we have the warm and the cool colors. But I'm still in that same square, so I need to go on the other side of the branch as well in the same color and fill in just where that square is. So I'm thinking about that as I'm coloring so I don't drift into the next square over with this color. Oh, and then I have a tiny bit left here. So in that same color, I'm going to finish that square. And I'm going to keep getting it as dark as I can. And you can keep going over it. That's why when I started this off, I said it's a bit meditative. I was finding as I was going along, I just kept getting a little darker and going back over it and checking it. And it's quite relaxing, this project. And so you can work on it for a while. So you're going to keep going, filling in those warm squares. And you'll notice this is totally optional, but if you would like to, you can put a few gold dapples of sunshine in there. Not on the branches, just in the square. I had a gold Sharpie, but you could use a gold crayon as well. And I just put in a few dapples of sunshine. And then I colored around those dapples of sunshine. Now I wanted to show you, if you chose to use watercolors to do this project, because it's really exciting to see everyone's different ideas and different ways of filling it in. But we're going to do the exact same thing that we did on the other one. Cool colors around the tree and warm colors inside. So I'm going to come over here and I think I'll start with a little bit of blue. I'm going to put some blue on my watercolors. Now the trick with doing it with watercolors is you can't touch the next square over until the first square is dry. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to fill this in. And the water will only travel, the paint will only travel as far as you've touched it with the wet brush. So it won't drift or bleed into the next square unless you have water over here. So you're going to let that dry. And I'm going to go around, and I think I'll do one over here. And I'm just putting the water inside the square. And then the pigment will travel on that water, just like when we did the watercolor resist last week. If I were to take, and I don't want you to do this, but if I were to take my brush and I got water here, the paint would travel. So let's see how the paint is starting to drift into that next square. So you have to let each square dry before you put something beside it. And I'm going to take another blue and I'm going to put it over here. And I'm just going to keep working my way around like that. And I'll just show you, I would probably choose to do all the cool colors first and then the warm, but just to show you what it'll look like. I'm going to take a little bit of orange and I'm going to fill in one square. And if you get a little impatient, which sometimes happens, you can always just blow on it or get a little hairdryer and dry it off if you're really hurrying. But this is kind of a take your time project. And here we'll do another red. Now, if I were to do it right here, what would happen? The orange would bleed into the red and it wouldn't be so strong, would it? So you need to move over to a square that has nothing beside it and move along. And that's how we do the outside and the inside. Now, with the tree itself, we're going to follow that same pattern, and I'm going to use two different tones of brown. So I'm going to let this watercolor version dry. And I'm going to go back to my pencil crayon version, and I'm going to choose two different browns. I'm going to choose a light brown and a dark brown. And I'm going to go along and I'm going to color each of my squares, and you can choose more browns if you want, but see in the trunk, I'm going to use this one brown. I'm doing the vertical coloring so it's all going in the same direction, and I'm going to fill in that part of the square with that color brown. Then I'm going to move to a lighter brown and I'm going to fill in this square here, just up to the edge of the square. And I do a little bit of a root here. And so I'll go back over inside this with a little bit of green after, a little bit of moss. So I'm just doing the brown up to there. Vertical lines again, so that we have everything going in the same direction. And I'm going to fill in that square with a different brown. And use my darker brown and fill in this square above it. And you're going to go in and you're going to do your entire tree, the inside of that tree, with your browns, just like that. And you see there's a little bit of the square here, so I'm just going to do a little bit up to the edge of the tree with that lighter brown. And it gives it a little bit of a bark look to it. And I'm going to do this little bit down here. And I think I'm going to choose a third brown, just so I have some more choice, so I don't have the same color lined up beside each other. I'm going to grab another brown from here. This will do. And I'll go in here and I'll color that little bit. So you see how I'm watching where that grid line is? And I'm moving along. And I'll color this in here. Now I'm hurrying a little bit so I can show you. This is a fun technique that you can add. So this project really has a large age range of levels of things that you can do. So if you're a really young artist, that might be as far as you're gonna go. And as you get older, you can add more details to it. You could try it in the watercolor, you could try it in some different mediums, you could mix your mediums. And another piece that you can do is you can add some detail into the tree. So you can take your black felt pen and you can add some swirls onto your, and color those in. This takes a little bit of a finer hand. So not everybody is going to want to do this, but if you want to try it and see what kind of patterns you can come up with, maybe you might do some hash marks. I thought I like swirls and circles, so that's what I chose to do. But I'd like to see how everybody is going to try some different, that's the exciting part, is to see everyone's different designs. So here we go, we're going to add some swirls on the inside of the tree. And you can do this for the entire tree and keep working your way up and add that little bit of detail on top. Now you can do these swirls, the pen work, exactly the same on the watercolor. Just wait until the watercolor is all dry. If I were to do these swirls now, the watercolor paint might bleed the black. So I'm going to do the whole tree and all the sky and the inside here first, and then I'll do the swirls after, at the very end. Now, don't forget, you got to make sure you sign your painting at the very end and put what year, because you'll be excited to see how long ago you did that. So here are some different choices, and we were thinking this might be an exciting project, community project again. Maybe we'll post some of our gallery pictures that we get sent into the school with the Hearts of Houston, because I think this will be a nice little forest of hope, we were calling it. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's paintings. We got some paintings in last week, and I'm just working on creating a gallery on the Facebook page so we can look at everyone's ideas and their creative conclusions to this art lesson, because it's really exciting to see everyone's different ideas. So I look forward to next week. I'll be posting the next project next week, and on Tuesday from 9 to 12 you can pick up extra art supplies if they're needed. This week we could do it just simply with crayons, so we didn't need any extra things, and the lesson will be done on Wednesday. So excited to see what you have to show me. Talk to you soon. Bye.